It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. Classic words of Charles Dickens are beautiful to describe the situation we are in today on this, the 14th day of February 2017. Our nation is at a very important crossroads. There are a lot of good things that are happening. Never before have so many state legislatures been controlled by pro-life forces as they are today. Never before in a long time have we had a pro-life Congress, pro-life Senate, pro-life House, and a pro-life presidency. Oh, God has moved in this nation to help us in so many ways, and yet you would never know it from the media and from the strident voices that are in our schools and in our public square. For today we are witnessing the rise of those who are demanding that we acknowledge their right to do wrong. We used to see people marching in the street for their rights. I think they're marching more for their wrongs today. But isn't it interesting that this very moment, in this best of times and worst of times, the Church of Jesus Christ is positioned for a most strategic opportunity. For today, I believe, America is at the very threshold of a great awakening. Neither that cold intellectualism or a list form of Phariseeism will suffice in this hour. Now, what is needed for the great awakening in our nation is a revival of love, redeeming love, agape love, divine love in the hearts of God's people. Think how different our world would be if every heart was filled with the fullness of God and filled with His love. Brothers and sisters, that's why we're thrilled to invite you to the St. Louis Holiness Convention. We believe that it is the message of perfect love that is the urgent need of our day. We need to talk about it. We need to pray about it. We need to think about it. We need to do what is necessary to be filled ourselves with all the fullness of God, that His love would burn in our hearts and send us from this place with a flaming message of full salvation. Not something that gets us out of the penalty of sin. Not something that simply helps us think properly about sin, but something that could deliver us from the guilt and the power of this sin. That's what the message of holiness is all about. That's why John Wesley's revival in Great Britain changed the history of that nation. And that's why in the 19th century, the United States of America took great strides toward becoming that more perfect union, because the message of holiness on the frontiers carried by the Methodist Circuit Riders was the very heartbeat of our nation. Oh, we're praying that God will bring us once again that great awakening and that mighty revival. And that's why we're inviting you to come for 2 days, February the 23rd and 24th, here to St. Louis. And we would like to invite you to the St. Louis Holiness Convention. We'll start at 9 o'clock on Thursday morning. We'll put up on the screen in just a moment the whole schedule so you can see who will be preaching and speaking, when discussion groups will be happening, when prayer meetings will be happening. We're excited to have Mark Sankey here to preach the word to us. Paul and Nancy Gray will be singing. Phil Alexander will be on the keyboard. It's going to be a tremendous 2 days with speakers coming from all across the nation. We want to invite you to come. Wouldn't it be tragic if the holiness people in this moment were to succumb to the spirit of the age and turn what could be the best of times into the worst of times? Mordecai looked at Esther and told her it was her obligation, her great privilege, her duty to go and speak to the king in behalf of Israel, the Jews in Babylon. The Bible says Mordecai looked at her and said, "Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" I believe we have. It is our hour. This is the message that is needed.